I bet no one listening to me right now would call themselves selfish. But when I finish here today, not only will you be ready to admit it, you'll be willing to own it. Do you know that every time you say yes to doing something you hate, you're stealing from someone you love? But when you say no, you are giving yourself a new opportunity. And do you know who I love? Me. I love me now. And I have to be selfish to show myself the love I need to become the best version of myself, to get in alignment with my purpose, and to live a life I find worthwhile. My name is Melissa Knowles. For 20 years, I was a TV journalist covering the news. The Olympics, Super Bowls, NBA sidelines. I was on a national daily show, Morning Express with Robin Meade. I was the entertainment anchor. I loved that job. I worked so hard to get that job. Interviews with A-list celebrities. How many people you know can sit down and just talk to Ben Affleck? I did. And it was great because I had achieved my dream career. But it started to feel like a nightmare. I could survive on 4 hours of sleep and make it look like I had it all together. I didn't. Sometimes I would actually miss my son's bedtime for my weekly salon visits. I had a standing appointment, and I willingly endured relaxers, keratin treatments, color, hair extensions. You name it, I had to go through it on a weekly basis. I would sit under a hooded dryer with rollers in my hair for hours. Round brush blowouts with heat so hot it would burn my scalp. Flat ironing and Atlanta traffic. Think about that. 8.5 years. Every time this took about 4 hours of my life. So let's do the math. And I'm not that great at math. But I do know that around 4 hours and 8.5 years is approximately 1,800 hours spent on keeping my hair perfect for TV. I skipped swimming on vacation, hot, sweaty workouts, and even walks with my husband to maintain perfect hair for TV. I was forcing my natural coils and curls to straighten and conform to a standard of beauty that wasn't even made for me or by me. This one time, by some miracle, I made it home for some kid-free downtime, and my husband looked at me and said, "Do you want to go for a walk?" I looked him up and down and said, "Are you out of your mind? I just got my hair done. Can't go for a walk with you. What if I sweat it out? What if it rains?" Then 2020 hit. The whole world stopped. But the news didn't stop. Neither did I. I showed up every day and did my job. I would smile on air, and then I would sob in my office during the commercial breaks. This was not sustainable. It felt like at that time that my toddler's giggles were my only light. I was drowning in expectations. My mental health was at its absolute lowest. And for the first time in my life, I felt like life wasn't even worthwhile. I needed to make a change. So I decided I was going to quit my job. But they beat me to it. They walked in on a Thursday in December and laid off our entire team. I was devastated. I was sad. But I also felt relieved. I still had like 9 months left on my contract, so I'm like, they have to pay me. Plus, I'd already chosen me. I'd already gotten myself into regular therapy. I'd already committed to my physical fitness. And I had decided I was going to big chop my hair. Do y'all remember that scene in Waiting to Exhale when Angela Bassett's character, Bernadine, decides she's going to cut her long, straight hair she's been growing for 11 years? They try to talk her out of it. She does it anyway. It's this moment of bravery, courage, defiance, and independence. I wanted to experience that. Do you remember the freedom she felt? Do you remember the glow she had? I wanted to experience my own liberation. So I started building a life where joy is my priority. Here's the truth. Being selfish is not the enemy. Being selfish is the key to living a worthwhile life. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he says that humans need the basics for survival, right? Like enough food, sleep, safety, love, and esteem. Check out this worthwhile pyramid. What do we need? Survival. We need permission, right? We need joy, legacy, connection, and freedom, of course, is at the top. Survival looks like making sure you get enough good food, sleep. Permission. Remember, you can say no. And you can even say, hell no. Both of those are complete sentences. If something doesn't align with who you are, say no. Joy. Put joy at the center of it all. Whatever healthy activity fills your cup, make sure you're doing more of that. Maybe you want to have time with your girlfriends, right? You want to connect with them, make time for that. Legacy. It is vital that we break generational curses and get ourselves into regular therapy. Think of therapy more as your self-defense. Connection. You know how you like to sip the tea? Why not sip the tea while you spill the tea with your girlfriends, right? Be intentional about putting dates on the calendar that aren't play dates for your kids or birthday parties. Date nights, those are good connections too. Freedom. Freedom is my favorite. Choose a hairstyle that doesn't dictate how you live your life or take up a third of your time. You know, since my big chop, I've saved 160 hours. That's 160 hours to be as selfish as I want to be. 160 hours to choose me. 160 extra hours to encourage, inspire, and motivate other women, and to build a village of moms who refuse to allow burnout to become their default setting. So let me ask you this. How many hours of your one precious life are you willing to sacrifice? How many bedtimes, swims, sweaty workouts, or romantic walks will you miss before you say enough? Because the world is always going to demand more from you. Particularly if you're a woman, specifically if you're Black, and especially when you're a mom. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Every time you choose yourself, you don't shrink the village. You rebuild it stronger. My big chop wasn't just about my hair. My big chop was my declaration. I am no longer available for my own oppression. And now, 160 extra hours to be me, to live, to thrive, to rest. 160 extra hours I used to beg for, now reclaimed with scissors and sheer audacity. This is your sign. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down. Right here, right now. Cancel that appointment that you dread, unless it's for your health, of course. Connect with the people who fuel you. Leave those dirty dishes in the sink and watch the sunset instead. Burn that cape, but keep your joy and repeat forever. And the next time you hear somebody whisper, isn't that selfish? I want you to look them dead in the eye and say, damn right, watch me. Because the world doesn't change unless we do. You know, my son is almost 7 years old now, and recently he asked if I wanted to play in the rain. Now, the old me would have been like, But the new me, we jumped in puddles until our socks were soaking wet. That is the life you deserve. Remember, you get to create the time and space to live the life you want. Now go out there and be your best selfish self and make it worthwhile. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.